It's fair to say the COVID-19 situation's escalated over the last few weeks in South Korea. Since mid-February, when President Moon Jae-in said the outbreak would disappear before long, we've gone from barely dozens of novel coronavirus infections to well into the thousands. It was Valentine's Day when I did my first commentary on this subject here in Seoul. So what's changed? It's been well documented that most of the infections have been linked to the Daegu area, a 3.5-hour drive from where I am in Seoul, in good traffic. And here in the capital, we've seen less than 2% of the country's total infections. So if it hadn't been for a super spreading event or chain of events involving a now well-publicized religious sect's activities in Daegu, it's hard to imagine that South Korea's number of infections would be anything like what it is now. I say this not to further stigmatize, but just to recognize it is an important factor. That and the high rate of testing, for which South Korea set the gold standard, according to a Harvard epidemiologist I interviewed this week. And generally, over the decade I've been in Seoul, I've been impressed by a world-class healthcare system that's efficient and affordable. So when I spoke 3 weeks ago about my trust in South Korea to handle this outbreak and the importance of perspective, I still feel this country is as well equipped or better equipped than many counterparts. And just because we've had so many cases here doesn't mean other nations won't catch up. That same Harvard epidemiologist's expecting 1 in 4 people to be infected by COVID-19 globally. I don't want to sound alarmist, and I certainly hope that forecast's wrong, but this country's far from being the worst place to be right now, and the still relatively low mortality rate may reflect that. Of course, there are also natural criticisms of the country's response. For any policymaker in this situation, there's that balance of holding the economy together while limiting the outbreak, of choosing who to support when so many are affected, of managing resources that have been caught out by shortages. This last point's been particularly highlighted by the shortage of masks, which has become far more urgent than when I was quite relaxed about it back on February 14th. Right now, the numbers simply don't add up. Most of the country's 51 million people seem to want masks on a daily basis, but we only have a capacity of 12 million a day. Critics are quick to remember that we even donated masks to China earlier in the outbreak, while also not blanket barring travel from China. But then Italy, the worst affected country in Europe, was the first nation in its region to ban travel in and out of China, and look what happened there. I guess I'm trying to say now's the time for workable solutions rather than the criticisms I'm seeing and hearing every day. Yes, I feel the anxiety, school closures, remote working for many offices, questions over when we can just get back to normal. But I feel we need to remain rational and cooperative, both with local communities and the rest of the world. COVID-19 isn't going to be solved without sharing resources and expertise and without full cooperation by all of us. We're challenged to maintain good hygiene and limit infection risks, but also to show consideration and celebrate those working to hold this all together, rather than thinking this is a good time to divide us further.